Hello, hello, and welcome back to Keonna Speaks. I am so happy to be here with you today. My name is Keonna Hamlett, and in this episode of Keonna Speaks, we are going to be talking about the corruption in politics, particularly within the United States. So, put your thinking hat on and get ready for a wonderful episode today. I am going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. But it kind of really shouldn't, because let's be honest, we know that corruption has been a thing in politics for so long. I mean, the United States was built off of corruption. The strength of the United States, as far as around the entire world, is based on corruption, and it starts back as early as colonization. Colonization was a tool used to weaponize religion, to force everybody to learn English, to force everybody to look at Christianity as the superior religion, but also to force people in submission of the agenda that was pushed during colonization. Okay? So let's not be, too surprised. But thanks to technology, we are able to see what happens behind closed doors in Congress today. And what I am going to show you today is going to be something that should make you want to tune in even more to, the happenings, the day-to-day happenings of what's happening in Congress. Okay? Now, again, if you're new here, welcome. If you don't know me personally, I am an author and I do have books and journals published on Amazon.com. Okay. I am also a music artist. I truly enjoy making music. Most of my music is very inspiring and motivating. And all of my music tells a story. And I do have music available on Apple Music and Spotify. And also, I have some new exclusive music in 2025 on YouTube. All right. And then I also have a travel blog on KeonnaHamlet.com. Now, my travel blog is fairly new, but I do have some amazing articles over there in which you can check out. And it's going to inspire you to travel, give you tips for traveling in ways that don't hurt your pockets, but can still allow you to have a luxurious travel experience. And you'll be able to see more of those articles coming soon. Okay. So yeah, that's what I have available right now. In addition to that, I just started a new podcast called the Resurrected Podcast. Now, in many of my previous videos, I talk about my faith journey and I talk about my history of my faith, that, or as far as the history of how faith was taught to me, right? And I also have been open about where I am. And so in the Resurrected podcast, it's just audio. It's never going to be video. I just want that to be a place that's just about audio. But in the Resurrected podcast, that's a place where the content is centered around the doctrine. Okay. Now, the reason why the content is centered around the doctrine only, is because I have found that studying the doctrine on a regular basis helps us prevent ourselves from sin. So, I have already published episode one, and I probably will be doing these podcasts bi weekly just because the subject matter is too depth to do it weekly. I like to take my time when I'm preparing my messages, and I will be publishing episode two very soon. But just a little backstory as far as where I am in my faith today. I no longer worship Jesus, okay? And I do have very sound, intelligent reasons for that. And that is what is going to be revealed in podcasts. I'm sorry, in the resurrected, look at me getting tongue tied. That is what is going to be revealed in the Resurrected podcast in episode two. The reason why I have denounced the name Jesus in my life. Now, I guess you're probably saying, how in the world can you have a podcast built around the doctrine when you're not using the name Jesus? Well, let me give you a little bit of history really quick before we get into the subject. The name Jesus was the name created by colonizers, okay, and their translators on payroll. And that was pushed out in the Geneva and King James Version Bible. However, I have done very adequate research and I have found that the name Jesus was translated out of corruption. It was not a translation that even honored the sacred names. So when you hear me saying names like Yahweh or Yahuwah, that is God. That is God to me. That is my God. Yahweh, Yahuwah, that is God. That is the creator of all. Okay. And when you hear me say names like Yahusha Hamashiach or Yeshua, well, those are names which honor the sacredness of the original Hebrew names. Okay. So there was not even an attempt to keep the sacred names when the name Jesus was made. Okay. But Yahusha Hamashiach and Yeshua, and there are some other sacred names translations, but they're all very similar. The attempt to honor the sacred names is something that I choose to respect. And I'll even go as far as saying that the way I look at people who don't honor the sacred names now, I look at them as people who are worshiping a false god. I look at the name Jesus as a false god, and I have plenty of valid reasons to do that now. And so that's where I am as of today. I see the name Jesus as a false god. And when I look at people who worship the name Jesus, I see the curses of disobedience on their life. Okay. And when I was ignorant to the truth, I had curses of disobedience on my life because one of the great abominations of Yah is worshiping false gods. And how can we say that we're not worshiping a false god if we're literally worshiping a name that was created by the same people who orchestrated colonization? They created a name that fitted their narrative. Okay, because the letter J wasn't even a thing in the English dictionary until the 17th century. Now, granted, there were some people who used a similar name to Jesus and it started with an I before they changed it to Jesus. Yes, and that was probably before colonization if I recall correctly. But even still, if we're going to be children of the true God and if we're going to seek truth, then we have to be honest and say, wait a minute, we should be at least trying to honor the original Hebrew name as much as possible. And that is what I choose to do moving forward. So when you hear me talking about God, saying anything related to God, my God is Yahuwah Elohim. My God is Yahweh. The Son of God to me is Yahusha Hamashiach. That is my Yeshua. And so I want to make that very clear. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. As I said, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. That's where I'm going to host the Resurrected podcast, and I'm going to have bi weekly episodes. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel because my Keonna Speaks episodes are posted on multiple platforms. So, yeah, you can subscribe to the Resurrected podcast by subscribing to my YouTube channel, and then you can also check out many of the other content I have available. But, yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. All right, so before we get started with the baffling information that I'm going to present to you today, I do want to let you all know why I do what I do. And I just talked about, how I make it a habit now to study the doctrine, and it really helps me and guides me. But I want to hone in on something here to give you an insight on why I even do Kiana Speaks, why I even take the time to speak about things that are happening in the real world and giving my opinions, my revelations really on the subject matter. So, as you can see on your screen, I have the Sefer Bible open, okay? And I'm going to share with you two scriptures that motivate me to do what I do, okay? So, this is in Deuteronomy around the time where Moses was, telling people about the commandments that they should follow once they go into the land flowing with milk and honey. Well, and actually in the Sefer, it's not Moses, it's Mose. But I already told you guys that, I'm moving away from the modern ways of thinking about um, my faith. And this includes not using the King James Version anymore. Okay. So this is the Sefer Bible. This Bible was created with the intention to honor the sacred names and also to honor some classic Hebrew translations mixed in, of course, with some English stuff because we don't speak Hebrew. All right. So, but it is a fair attempt to roll back some of the corrupted names and in subject matter. Okay, so Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 14 says, Then shall you inquire and make search and ask diligently, and behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought upon you, you shall surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle thereof with the edge of the sword. So, what does this mean, Keonna? Well, the revelation that my God allowed me to see from this is that, for one, we should asking questions. Okay, when we see things happening, right? We should be asking questions. We should be researching, and we should be trying to uphold the truth. And when we find the truth, then when we see that it is something that is an abomination, something that is sinful in nature or sinister in nature, that we should speak up against it. That is the revelation that I got from this. Because, of course, I'm not going to take a sword and go destroy anybody or any city, right? No. But the revelation that I got from this is that when we see things happening, right? We should be inquiring about it, especially if something is off about it. We should be asking questions, we should be doing research, and we should be getting to the bottom of the truth. And if it is something that is sinister in nature, then we should speak out against it. Okay? So this is why I do what I do, and I hope that this gives you all understanding of why Keonna Speaks is even a thing. All right? And hey, there's going to come a time where people are going to be, surveying me, and feel free to do so, okay, because I'm very confident in who I am and what I do, and I'm not a person who's scared of accountability, okay. So that doesn't scare me. A lot of people like to take Matthew, the do not judge verse, right, and they like to weaponize it. But what that's really saying is that we should, first of all, here we go, judge not that ye not be judged. It's not saying don't judge, okay? For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured unto you again. So that means, as I'm sitting up here giving my truthful judgments after doing my research and using my discernment to assess a situation and asking questions with my analytical skills, that I should also be open to people turning the camera on me and holding me to those same standards. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Okay. So let's not let people weaponize this scripture to make you turn a blind eye to the foolishness at hand. So let's go ahead and get. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get into the video. This is my guy from Ponder and Politics, and I'm just going to let him tell you what's popping off, and you'll see it happening in real time. I already gave you a little rundown, but let's go.
Committee, in which Democratic ranking member Robert Garcia, the man who replaced the late Jerry Connolly, okay, and this is, by the way, again, a solid step in the right direction. Garcia is young, he's fiery, he's smart, and we're seeing now, even though he's only been the ranking member for a couple of weeks, he's actually delivering results because he just defeated the Republicans and forced them to capitulate, to issue a subpoena to order the Trump administration to turn over the entire Epstein files. Obviously, the Trump administration may not play ball, but you're going to see these 3 minutes unfold, and take careful note of what the Republican chairman, Clay Higgins, tries to do here to evade this.
Document into the record listing the members of this committee and their individual calls to release the Epstein files.
So, without objection. The subcommittee stands in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Point of order. Are we not going to take the vote?
We're in recess. That was a previous order.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, we need to take the vote from the motion.
Child, he trying to get out of that vote.
Previous order, which passed without objection. And we will move to those votes.
So first, they're trying to put the subcommittee in recess to avoid taking the vote, and he's being called out on it.
And so this is out of order conversation. I'm just being polite. We had the previous order that we moved without objection. Votes would be moved.
Child, you see how he trying to get up out of there, talking about something. This is an out of order conversation. Sir, the only thing that's out of order is you. You out of order. You out of order. The Republicans out of order. Donald Trump out of order. The whole Trump administration is out of order. That's the only thing that's out of order. Child, they was trying to escape this vote, something terrible. But anyway, let's keep going, because watch the corruption in front of our eyes, okay?
Until after deliberation. All subject to call of the chair. Our office today. We have plans. We have plans.
They have forever recess. Children will not.
So when is the actual? When are we back in session for this subcommittee after votes?
Subject to the call of the chair, as I stated. So
We're gonna do a permanent recess.
the previous order. So stand by. And
So again, recess to avoid taking the vote. They come back, and the issue is pushed again.
now we will be calling up Ms. Lee's motion as amended. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. In the opinion of the, pardon?
The ayes have it.
In the opinion of the chair, the no has it.
So even
Wait a
though the ayes definitely have it, Higgins, who voted no, is saying actually no, the noes have it.
This the corruption I'm talking about. This the corruption. Let me rewind it. This the corruption right here in plain sight. Corruption in plain sight by the Republicans. You cannot deny this is corruption. You clearly heard majority people vote aye, which is another way of voting yes. Okay? You clearly heard it. He was the only one that we could hear from the audio that said no. But he still proceeded to pretend as if the no won. So the question is, how many times has this been happening in Congress throughout the United States? That's the first question. The second question is, how many laws do we have in place right now that are a result of this type of corruption? Because it hasn't been that long to where we've had this much publicity. I told that word up. This much publicity as far as what's happening in Congress. So if these cameras were not there, would this man Higgins have gotten away with this clear corruption? The way he tried to do a magic trick or witchcraft or whatever to make them people think that they crazy. Because that's how liars do. They love to make the people who clearly see the truth and know the truth think they crazy. Okay? Like they didn't just hear what we just heard. And I'm going to play it again. But majority of the people voted aye. How many times has this been going on, and how many laws are in place right now as a result of this type of corruption? Because if this man is this comfortable with doing this in 2025, it came from somewhere. And we got plenty of more proof that there's a lot of corruption in politics, and it possibly on both sides. But right now, the Republicans are taking the victory home for the most corrupt political organization ever. Okay, ever. Because we also, and I'll probably do another video on this later, people who have been keeping up with what's going on, we also saw how Trump lied about the fact that he was told his name was in the Epstein files. And not only did he lie about that, the entire administration lied about the fact that they knew his name was in the Epstein files. They also did not tell the public that Pam Bondi had FBI agents, 1,000 FBI agents in particular, to work 24-hour shifts to redact Trump's name. Let me be correct. To flag any Epstein file that had Trump's name in it. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. There's videos on YouTube, but there's even an article about this. I believe it's on the Washington Post. Multiple articles, multiple outlets reported this because Senator Dick Durbin made it public. Okay, he sent a letter to them asking them, why did y'all have 1,000 FBI agents working to flag Donald Trump's name in the Epstein files? Didn't they tell the public that haven't they been recently coming out saying, oh, there were no files, there's nothing to see here? They lied on that. They lied that there were files. Well, now they've been lying, saying there's nothing to see there. Then they lied and said that Trump wasn't in there. Trump himself lied and said that nobody told him his name was in there. Come to find out that he was told back in May his name was in there. And then after they found out his name was in there, Pam Bondi had FBI agents working to flag files with his name in it. Corruption, 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 corruption. And the only reason these people are emboldened to get away with this behavior must be because they have been doing it. So it is safe to say we have yet to see the best of American politics, because if this is the behavior that they are comfortable with doing, then God knows what else they didn't got away with. Let's go ahead and finish the video without further ado. So let's go ahead and finish the video without further ado. Okay, so you guys just saw that. So now what's going to happen is they're going to force a recorded vote because he's clearly having dementia or delusions or something up here to where his ears ain't working right. So let's get into it.
Recorded vote, sir.
Recorded vote is called for. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Gosar. Mr. Biggs. Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace votes aye. Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry votes aye. Ms. Boebert. Mr. Jack.
Aye.
Mr. Jack votes aye. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee votes yes. Mr. Bell.
Aye.
Mr. Bell votes aye. Ms. Simon. Aye. Ms. Simon votes aye. Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley votes aye. Mr. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia votes aye. Mr. Chairman. No. Mr. Chairman votes no.
You just hear that forlorn no when he realized that the math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing.
Mr. Biggs is not recorded. Mr. Biggs votes nay.
Math ain't mathing.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 8, the nays are 2.
So that's how lopsided it was, and this dishonest piece of shit.
Ooh, hold on, let me let him finish preaching real quick. Hold on.
Was like, oh, the no's definitely have it because 2 outnumbers 8 in MAGA math, right? It's just so shocking, right? But that was because there were 3 MAGA defections. So yeah, folks, this is how.
But yeah, to add on to what my guy is saying on the screen, you know, the MAGA people a little lost up here. You know, we're gonna pray for them. But anyway, so what I want you all to take away from this, after seeing that corruption in plain sight, is we should not only be paying attention when it's time to vote, right? We should be paying attention in between voting season, because these people are comfortable. They're comfortable with this type of behavior only because most people only show up when it's time to vote. You care so much at voting time, but you're not tapped in, tuned in between. And I'm talking to myself as well. I'm guilty of this as well, okay? But now I got my thinking cap on. I got my liar lenses on, and I'm tapped in, tuned in. And I'm finna hold these people accountable as long as I have to live in the United States. Now, when I decide to move, then, you know, or if I decide to move, then I probably won't even care. But who knows? politics in the United States affect, the entire world. Let's just be honest, because we talked about the stronghold that the United States has over many countries in the world due to the influence of colonization. But that is coming to an end because there are countries organizing amongst themselves. BRICS is one of them, and they have enough countries in line that account for more than half of the world population that are actively seeking ways that they can go around the United States to live. And actually, de-dollarization is something that is in discussion. So let that be a reminder to you that, this whole idea that, America is the greatest country in the world, is it? Or is it the most corrupt country in the world? So if we're going to move forward as people who live in America, we need to address this corruption head on, and we need to hold these people accountable, and we need to remind them that you took a seat in a public office to do a job, not to be a puppet to our orange messiah because you don't have nothing else to do with your life. Okay? So my name is Keonna Hamlett. I pray that this video blesses your heart, and I look forward to welcoming you back here in the future. May God bless you, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.